I'm not sure how well these two readings are going to sew together and what I'm going to say about either of them. But I think there's points in each of them that are worth meditating on, obviously, but particularly today. So Eleazar is, this is during the time of the Maccabees. The Greeks have conquered Israel. You know, the next in line are the Romans to come and conquer Israel. But right now it's the Greeks conquering Israel. And they're setting up the sacrifice. And people are being coerced to offer pagan sacrifice in order to get along. And I'm not just making that up. That's actually the reason that they're doing it. This is the motivation that they're being told, let's all just get along, let's coexist. Because remember, Alexander sent an edict out to all of the world saying, let all of the peoples be as one. Subordinate everything of every single culture, of every single religion, of every single language, of every single economic factor, of every single educational diversity. Subordinate it all that we might be one. That's the main motivation here. The greatest good in the world, in Alexander's mind, is the unity of this empire, the unity of humanity. And therefore, everyone needs to make this sacrifice because this is the religion of the empire. And the Jews are like, well, a lot of the Jews, like a lot of people today, immediately said, oh, okay, that's fine. Because their own understanding and life with God is so shallow, it's so weak and feeble, that the most simple disruption in that is enough to get them to abandon ship. Okay, we'll do it for this good thing, right? I mean, look at what we did. Look at what we did during COVID. We shut down the churches. Why? For this greater good of health, right? We're not going to have mass. We're not going to worship God. Now, this is different categorically from abandoning the faith. But I use it as an example to show you how easily sometimes we're willing to subordinate the greater good of the worship of God to a lesser good because it's more proximate to us. It's closer to us. It seems to affect us more. I don't want to get sick, so I won't go to church. Right? Here, most of the Jewish nation is saying, well, we don't want to cause a fuss. Right? We're conquered by these people. We want to go along to get along. We see how well the Greek nations accumulate wealth and how comfortable they are and how wonderful their lives are. So, maybe it is best if we just go along. So most of the Greek nation, or most of the Israelites do that. But then comes this one particular example, among many examples, right? The book of Maccabees is full of amazing examples of courage in the face of death, saying, I will not do the slightest, I would rather die than do the slightest thing wrong. There's a woman who sits and watches all 5 or 7 of her sons tortured and died, and the last one they send over to her for her to convince him to do the thing so that she can save at least one of her sons, and she says, go get it, boy, go die, because that's better. I mean, think about that. That's crazy. That's what these people who were trying to get Eleazar to do the thing, to eat the food, to make the sacrifice, thought when he said no too. That's crazy. Such a small thing. And you get to save your life. Well, first of all, who are you to take my life from me anyways? So in doing this, you're doing the wrong thing, not me. I'm not going to go along with the culture and do the apparently good thing when that's actually the wrong thing to do. I would rather let you do a wrong thing to me than for me to do a wrong thing in the sight of God and men. That takes great courage. And it takes a sincerity of faith that knows that God is God. And that He has given to me a relationship with Him that I am absolutely unwilling to sacrifice because it is the best thing. There's no greater thing in the created order of the world that is better than my relationship with God. Now, there are 4 things that Eleazar does here as I think about it. 4 relationships, in a sense, that he is concerned with that would be disrupted if he ate the pork, because it's not just a small thing that he's being asked to do. And it's not even enough that he doesn't actually do the thing, but just simply appears to do the thing. There are these four relationships. There's the relationship that Eleazar has with God, the relationship he has with his peers, the relationship he has within himself, and the relationship he has with his persecutors. First of all, he says to his persecutors in his relationship with them, I will not compromise with you. I am not so weak that I need to make a deal with you who are also weak so that we can both just get along. I don't need to do that. No one can force me to do something wrong. I'm stronger than that. So he overcomes, he conquers the enemy. And we say, well, but he died. How is that winning? Well, what do we have in the book of wisdom? They are, in the eyes of the foolish, dead, but they are, in fact, at peace. And they dart about like stubble, dart about like spark among stubble. That that the just of God, that the just are in the hands of God, and no torment shall touch them. The true victory. What Eleazar says is, look, y'all, I'm gonna die anyways. So, I mean, if it's now or 5 minutes from now, I'll do it now, and then I won't do anything wrong. Like you don't have, that's the greatest weapon that the devil has, is this threat of death. And if we can be like, okay, so you're going to kill me, fine. I'm going to die anyways. So what do you have on me? If for a short time, Eleazar says, what does it matter if let's see if I can find it here quickly. I don't think I can, but yeah. Should I thus pretend for the sake of a brief moment of life, they would be led astray by me. So here he's putting that into perspective. He's saying, I'm going to beat you by not letting you make me do something wrong in order that you don't do something mean to me. That's your choice. You're going to do something mean to me, that's your choice, but I will not do something wrong. That's that first relationship that he overcomes, right? The second was led into it by this, that they might not be led astray. It was essential for Eleazar, as it's essential for every Christian who understands and embraces and claims their relationship with Jesus, their identity as the Christ, to not lead others astray, right? Jesus says, it's better that a millstone be wrapped around their neck and they're tossed into the sea than for them to lead one of these little ones astray. So Eleazar says, okay, that's fine. You guys are saying that I could bring some other meat, and eat it, but it's still going to look like I'm doing the thing. And my relationship, I have a true relationship with the nation of Israel that I have to recognize. I have a responsibility to, and I have to behave in a certain manner in order to maintain that national relationship, that familial relationship with my people. I will not abandon that to save my life. Remember, this is always telling Eleazar, but you could save your life, but you could save your life. And remember, it's always couched in the sense that it's for a greater good. It's so that we can all get along. It's so that we don't have conflict. It's so that we can be united. It's so that we can have one culture. It's so that we can all be together. And Eleazar is saying, no, it's not worth that. So here Eleazar chooses to maintain the right order of his relationship with others. Right? He says also, even if for a time I may avoid punishment of men, I shall never, whether alive or dead, escape the hands of the Almighty. He says, yeah, even if God knows that I didn't eat that pork, I didn't objectively do the thing, I will have nevertheless sinned. And I would rather be held guilty by you falsely than to have damaged my relationship with the Almighty. That's so important to me. That is the most important thing to me. Right? And then finally within himself, right? He references several times that it would be unworthy of me in my old age. I desire to prove myself worthy of my old age, and I will leave the young a noble example. There's this desire of interior integrity that Eleazar is concerned with. He will not compromise his conscience for somebody else's calculus of good or definition of good or morality that is askew. He says, I will not do that. To be able to sleep at night is more important to me than to be able to live one more day. All right? This is everything that's going on around a little piece of meat. And there's a lot of times in our lives where we find ourselves being tempted to compromise our own integrity, our relationship with the Lord, our example to our neighbors, or simply even failing in the conflict with the enemy because it just seems like a small thing. The universe of your soul is no small thing. And that's always what's at stake. No matter how large the piece of meat, no matter how seemingly small the temptation is, to choose the easy way, to preserve some apparent good at the cost of some greater good. For a man to gain the whole world but lose his soul. That's what's set before us when the devil seeks to tempt us to do what is wrong, to compromise with some mediocre good and not strive for the greatest good, to undervalue what is infinitely valuable or to devalue it so that we can justify gaining some little good in this world. Y'all, the worst thing that anybody can do to you is kill you. And that's not such a bad thing. The worst thing is what you can do to yourself. What any of us does to ourselves when we choose to compromise with evil, when we choose to accept the avenue of sin, because then we don't escape the judgment of the Almighty. We ruin our friendship with Him. We set a bad example in the sight of others, and they hold us in derision. We can't sleep in our own beds because our conscience torments us, and the enemy's won. All it takes to win, though, is to say no. Do what you will. You do whatever you want to me, but I will not do evil. This is the example of Eleazar, the example of the mother of those brothers. It's the example of Judas Maccabeus. It's the example of all these noble men and women in the book of Maccabees. And that freedom and power that they exemplify here is given to us in spades through the example and the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ. May we live, Christians as we are, in such a manner that we can be worthy of being counted among the rank of those martyrs who, without the grace of Christ, had the courage to die for love of God, love of neighbor, and love of themselves.